welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. It was an unusually serene afternoon when I was told I could leave work early. The rarity of such a moment in my hectic schedule sparkled with promise. I decided to surprise my wife, Laura, hoping to whisk her away for an impromptu date. We hadn't had much quality time together lately, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity to reconnect. As I turned onto our street, the sun dipped behind the rooftops, casting elongated shadows that danced across the pavement. That's when I noticed it, a sleek, unfamiliar car parked in our driveway. My brow furrowed in confusion. Laura hadn't mentioned expecting anyone. A flicker of unease tickled the back of my mind, but I brushed it off as I pulled up behind the mysterious vehicle. I quietly entered through the side door, intending to keep the surprise intact. The house was unusually quiet, too quiet for a guest to be present. Yet, as I neared the living room, a cascade of laughter broke the silence, followed by a deep, unfamiliar male voice. My heart hitched. Something was off. Pausing by the living room entrance, I listened. There was an ease in their interaction, a familiarity that made my stomach churn. Compelled by a mix of dread and disbelief, I peeked around the corner. The sight that greeted me was like a physical blow. Laura, scantily clad, straddling a man on our couch. My Laura, laughing with a carefree joy I hadn't seen in months. The room spun as their giggles echoed mockingly around me. They hadn't noticed me yet. Rage boiled over, the initial shock giving way to a blistering fury. I stepped into the room, my presence slicing through their laughter like a knife. Laura. They jerked apart, her eyes wide with shock, his filled with an irritatingly calm calculation. Laura scrambled off him, her face flushing a deep red. Mark. It's not what, it's not. Who is he? My voice was eerily calm, belying the storm raging inside me. This is Tom, she stammered, hastily trying to cover herself. We were just. Save it, I cut her off, my gaze flitting coldly from her disheveled appearance to Tom, who sat there, annoyingly composed. How long, Laura? She was silent, her eyes darting around the room as if looking for an escape. Tom cleared his throat, standing up. Maybe I should go. Yes, you should, I agreed sharply. After Tom left, the silence was suffocating. Laura tried to explain, tears streaming down her face, but the betrayal had cut too deep. Each word she uttered seemed like a nail sealing the coffin of our marriage. That night, alone in the darkness, the full weight of her betrayal sank in. I realized then that it wasn't just her infidelity I couldn't forgive, it was her ability to lie so effortlessly. I made a decision, fueled by a hurt that had turned into something darker. Revenge. I vowed not only to divorce her but to ensure she regretted betraying me. I would use every resource at my disposal to dismantle the life we had built together, ensuring it was me who emerged unscathed. As dawn broke, my plan began to take shape, each detail meticulously plotted with a cold, dispassionate precision. Laura had made her choice, and now, she would face the consequences of her actions. The game had just begun. The morning after the revelation was bleak, the sky a slate gray that mirrored the turmoil inside me. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a cup of coffee that had long since gone cold, the silence a stark contrast to the chaos of my thoughts. Laura was upstairs, likely still asleep, or perhaps pretending to be, avoiding the inevitable confrontation. I needed allies, information, and a plan. My first call was to my old college friend, Alex, who had become a successful lawyer. He answered on the second ring. Mark? Hey, what's up? Alex, I need your help, I said without preamble. There was a pause, then, sure, anything. What's going on? It's Laura. She's been having an affair. I caught her yesterday. Jesus, Mark. I'm sorry. What do you need? I want to make sure she doesn't walk away from this unscathed. Can you handle the divorce? You got it. I'll start pulling together what I need for your case. We'll make sure you're covered. Next, I called a private investigator. If Laura had hidden this affair, what else might she be concealing? The investigator, a woman named Rita, was pragmatic and promised discretion. I can start with a deep dive into her financials and social media, Rita suggested. It's amazing what people leave out in the open. Do it, I confirmed, my voice a hardened edge of resolve. The rest of the day was a blur of calls and emails. I contacted our bank to freeze our joint accounts and change passwords. I wasn't going to give Laura a chance to drain our funds. Late in the afternoon, I heard Laura coming down the stairs. I steeled myself as she entered the kitchen, her eyes red and puffy from crying. She looked fragile, broken, but I reminded myself of her betrayal. "Mark, can we talk?" she asked, her voice trembling. I looked up, my expression unreadable. "What's there to talk about, Laura?" I made a mistake. It was stupid and meaningless. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't change what you did. Please, I want to fix this. I love you. It's too late for that. I've started proceedings. And just so we're clear, I'm not leaving this house. If you're uncomfortable, you can leave. She flinched as if struck. You want me to move out? Yes. I think it's best we stay apart now. Her face crumbled, and she nodded slowly, retreating back upstairs. As she left, a small, vindictive part of me felt satisfaction at her pain. The house felt colder once she was gone, the air thick with the ghost of our past. But there was no turning back. I had set things in motion, a chain of events that would either redeem my wounded pride or consume us both. Whatever the outcome, I was ready. The storm was coming, and I was at its eye, calm and determined. The days that followed were a masterclass in cold efficiency. With Laura moved out and staying with a friend, the house felt both emptier and somehow more mine. My daily routines morphed into strategic sessions, with calls to Alex and updates from Rita forming the rhythm of my revenge. One chilly morning, a breakthrough came. Rita called with a tone of suppressed excitement. "Mark, you might want to sit down for this," she began, and I immediately tensed, my hand gripping the phone tighter. "What is it?" I've been digging through her bank statements and social media. Not only has Laura been pretty sloppy with hiding her affair, but it looks like she's made some hefty withdrawals over the last 6 months. Big amounts, always when you were on business trips. My mind raced. Can you trace where it went? Already on it. Looks like payments to a luxury apartment downtown. The lease is in her name. A cold laugh escaped me. She's been planning to leave, or keeping a love nest. Either way, it's damning. Exactly. I'll gather more proof, but this could help you not only in the divorce but in making sure the narrative is clear. She was planning this, possibly even manipulating you financially. Good work, Rita. Keep me updated. I hung up, a bitter taste in my mouth but a fire kindled in my chest. This betrayal was deeper than emotional, it was a calculated deception. Later, at my office, a scheduled meeting with Alex took place. He laid out the documents on his desk with a grave expression. "With this new evidence, we can push for full control of your shared assets. It'll be a fight, but you're in a strong position." "I want to press every advantage," I confirmed, my jaw set. "I don't just want to win, I want her to regret ever thinking she could do this to me." Alex nodded, noting down everything. "I'll file the motions. Expect things to get messy." As the legal gears began to grind, Lara's attempts to reach out became more desperate. Texts, voicemails, even emails, all pleading for a chance to explain, to make things right. I listened, read, and ignored each one. Her voice became background noise to my plotting. The final piece fell into place later that week. Rita had secured surveillance footage from the apartment building, Laura and that man, Tom, looking cozy as they entered and left. It was all the proof I needed. I called Laura, the first time I had initiated contact since the day I discovered her betrayal. She answered almost immediately, a hopeful quiver in her voice. "Mark? Did you? I've seen the apartment. And the withdrawals. I know everything, Laura." There was a heavy silence, then a sob. "Please, I can explain. Save it for the court. You'll need every excuse you can muster." She was crying now, the sounds harsh and jagged. "I never meant to hurt you this much. I made a mistake. You chose this. Every step of the way, you chose this. Now live with it." I hung up, her sobs still echoing in my ears. The satisfaction was shadowed by a pang of sorrow for what had been lost, but it was quickly swallowed by the righteousness of my cause. The battle lines were drawn. Papers filed. Evidence gathered. It was no longer just a divorce, it was a declaration of war. And I was ready to lead the charge. As the court date approached, the air between Laura and me thickened with silent accusations and unspoken regrets. We were like two generals on a battlefield, each maneuvering forces with precision and cold intent. The hearing was a spectacle, lawyers like gladiators clashing over the ruins of our marriage. "Your Honor, the evidence will show a calculated betrayal, not just of marital vows but of financial trust," Alex's voice boomed across the courtroom. He presented the surveillance footage, the bank records, the lease to the apartment, all painting Laura as a conniving adulteress who had not only cheated but had schemed against me. Lara's lawyer tried to deflect, painting her as a misunderstood wife driven into the arms of another out of loneliness and neglect. But the evidence was damning, and her tearful testimony seemed more an act of desperation than a defense. I watched her from across the room, the woman I had once loved, now just a stranger clad in the armor of her guilt. Her eyes met mine occasionally, pleading, searching for a sign of the man she once knew. I gave her nothing but the cold glare of a wounded warrior. The judge's gavel fell like a thunderclap, awarding me the majority of our assets and the full ownership of our home. Lara's facade crumbled in that moment, her sobs filling the courtroom as her lawyer led her away. But victory tasted like ash. I had won, yet the cost was etched deep in my soul. I needed closure, something more personal than legal triumphs. I waited for the right moment, a few days after the trial, when the dust had settled. It was late evening when I drove to the apartment she used to share with Tom. The street was quiet, save for the whisper of the wind. I knew Tom was there alone. Laura had moved out after the trial's fallout. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding not with fear but with a dark resolve. Tom opened the door, his face registering surprise and then wariness. "Mark? What are you? I thought we should talk." "Man to man," I said, my voice even but firm. He hesitated, then stepped aside, letting me in. The apartment was sleek, expensive, paid with betrayal. "What do you want?" Tom asked, his voice uneasy. "I want you to understand something," I began, my eyes locked on his. "You took something from me. And I believe in balancing accounts." Fear flickered in his eyes as he took a step back. "Look, what happened with Laura, it got out of hand. I never meant." "I don't care what you meant," I interrupted sharply. "Actions have consequences. I'm here to make sure you understand yours." Before he could respond, I lunged forward, my actions swift, a culmination of every sleepless night and every moment of rage since discovering the affair. The struggle was brief, surprise was on my side, and desperation lent me strength. When I left, Tom was a crumpled mess on the floor, a non-lethal reminder of his betrayal. I didn't look back as I walked out of the apartment. The street was still quiet, the world oblivious to the justice, or revenge, administered inside. The next morning, news of Tom's mysterious assault made the local papers, but no leads were found. Laura called me, once, her voice a mix of fear and accusation. "Did you?" "I told you, Laura. Actions have consequences," I said coldly, and hung up. We never spoke again. I had severed all ties, leaving behind the remnants of a life too tainted to reclaim. In my quest for retribution, I had lost parts of myself, but gained a stark, harsh peace. Betrayal and revenge had set the terms of our parting, an indelible mark on the soul, impossible to erase. The battle was over, but at what cost? As I moved forward, the lesson was clear: some wounds never truly heal, and some battles leave no victors, only survivors.